Hello, welcome to Morning Coffee with Maddog Merv. Have a beautiful morning fixing to show up here. Let's see what is going on the channel this week, shall we? That's awfully good, Cruella. Welcome to Morning Coffee. Maddog Merv today. Got our French roast this morning again. I wonder if I'm a big fat guy. I mean, holy cow. I always had a schmear. A schmear. So he's probably going for bagels. He's trying to steal oh my gosh, I can't even believe it. I have no clue. And I got a bunch of chores to do. Oh, who wants to do that? Today's shout out goes to a channel called Biographics. And I may have mentioned them at one time before, a long time ago, but Biographics, they recently had this really cool thing on there about Chef Boyardee, the real Chef Boyardee, bringing Italian to America. Fascinating story. They also have some other great bios on there. Check them out, Biographics. This last week we had part 3 of the General Patton build, which was the interior. And it was like a lot of the other interior videos I do, except this time I did use some tape to get some of the straight edges on the chrome trim, because man, there was some tiny pieces of chrome trim in there. And I used that new technique. Well, it wasn't new to me, and I actually learned it from a local car modeler that was nationally renowned. The using of the oils on your skin to shine up your upholstery. I did. So where all that started was years and years ago when I worked at Great Models. I worked with a guy named Brian Dees, and Brian, absolutely amazing modeler. He was very close friends with Mark Gustafson, who I know many of you have heard of, many of you car guys particularly have heard of. And Mark was the guy who helped put together that I can't remember what it's called now, but it was the big scale model, a car thing they did every other year here, GSL. Great guy. Brian and I worked together at Great Models. He was the manager, the initial manager, and I was the assistant manager when we first opened up that store. And he was showing me how you would spray Tamiya paint, because I wasn't a big fan of acrylics. I'm still not, but he was showing me how you'd spray Tamiya paint on this car interior, and to get it to look like leather or vinyl or whatever it was you want, or we're trying to get it to look like, to add a little bit of a sheen to it. He showed me that trick, and I thought, you got to be kidding me, that's crazy. And it worked extremely well. Now, with enamels, with flat enamels, it'll work as well. It does seem to work better, I think, with the acrylics for some reason. But anyway, I hope you guys got something out of that particular show. Yes, Pete, I'm being invaded again. The joys of living near the airport. Anyway, I hope that was something that you guys enjoyed and got something out of. So we will be moving on to part 4 this week. Part 4. Oh boy. We're going to work on the engine, but I'm not going to finish the engine. The reason I'm not going to finish the engine is I ran into a little bit of a snag, and I'll explain that in the video. But the engine's mostly done, and now it's in. We're going to work on a couple of other things to try to get this car really close to finished, but I think it's going to take a part 5 to get it completely done. So this week, tomorrow, we're going to have part 4. So for this week, we did Mad Dog's Adventures in 40K and looked at this kill team, which is basically just a squad size, either 5 or 10, depending on how you're doing it. And they're coming again. Yeah, this is like the 3rd one this morning while I've been here. Anyway, I'm building several of those, and it's the one thing that my son and I do play in the Warhammer is the kill team, because it's something we can do in a less than a couple hours, and it's fun. We have fun doing it. It's interesting though when you play them. So as you build them, as you paint them, you really get into that part of it. At least I do. I don't just paint to get color on them and put them on the table. I paint them as if they were an individual, individual soldier, And so I put a lot of thought and care into it. So it takes me a while to paint them. Well, with these kill teams, I'd have to count how many now. I've got at least 15 different kill teams that I can field, that we can use a combination of these players. And I can play against my son, who's really, really into the Tyranids, but he also builds the Ultramarines. Anyway, he's started to get into the Necrons now. So it's going to be fun-er for he and I, because we can have all sorts of different combinations of figures to play. So I wanted to take from one of the colors I'd already done and build a kill team. Now I picked up a really good deal on some used figures. They were already built. They were just gray. They weren't painted. But there was a couple of captains in there. There was a couple of company ancients in there. There was a company lieutenant in there. And I want to say there was 15 intercessors. And I think I paid $60 for this whole set, which was just unheard of, because 2 captains alone would be more than that. So I've kind of divided them out and thought, okay, well, I'll build this one as Imperial Fist, because that'd be fun for me to do. This is going to, this one's going to that. And I thought, well, this time I'm going to do one from the color wheel. And the orange was just screaming to me. So we did the Knights of Griffin. Now, eventually I'll have those finished, because I'm still painting them, but it takes an enormous amount of time. I'm spending 2 or 3 hours on each figure, just because of the way that I'm doing it, and like I said, the detail that I'm going into it, because I'm not doing it as a batch paint to just get the game out there. I'm doing it as I would my other figures, World War II figures, anything like that. So I hope that that's something you guys got something out of. The color wheel part was fun. I really wanted a black cherry color to go in between some of the other reds and oranges and whatnot that I had, and that worked out good. I like how that one turned out. But I also wanted kind of a lime green, but if it was going to be a lime green, I wanted a loud lime green, bright. And fortunately, I found a couple of, as you saw, a couple of groups that had that lime green color, and was able to find a sufficient supplier for the paint. And I like how that one turned out as well. So I'm having fun. That's the point, is I'm having fun doing those, and that's what modeling's all about, having fun. Yep, this week on the Kit Hoarder's Stash, oh my goodness. I am not sure, but I've got a bunch of stuff. So last week, and I failed to mention this to you guys, but last week I had gone to Kit Links to the warehouse sale that they have, and helped out there. My friend Loic and I were running that, and he had a sale going on armor kits that were in stock, trying to rotate his stock. And as I'm going through the list of things that are for sale, there was some really cool buys. So for example, there was a Tasca Easy 8 Sherman with the T66 tracks, and this has got some resin parts in it. It's got some photo etch in it. It's got a lot of really cool stuff. It's a Tasca kit, so it's top of the line, $25. Nah, I can't pass that up. I also, one of my favorite kits that I've built is that Pershing, the Pilot 1 and the Pilot 2 of the Pershing. Well, Unfortunately, unfortunately, I picked up another one of those. Again, 25. Couldn't pass that up. And there was a fine molds Japanese tank. Now, fine molds kits are good, but they're also very expensive, and so I couldn't pass up a 50% off on a fine molds Japanese tank that I didn't have. So I came home with another stack of kits. I have a bunch of those to review. There's several cars I still got to review, so we're going to be good for the kit hoarder stash for a while. Okay, so first off, let me just show you the joys of a blue heeler. She has worn this ball out. Mind you, there's about 10 others here around the yard, but this is the one she likes to play with. She is such a nut. Well, there's another shout out that I really need to give at this point in time, and that's to a company called Edwards Life Science. These guys do a lot of when it says life science, they do a lot of things that have to do with, say, artificial heart valves, the delivery system for that, but they do a lot of other stuff as well. But this company is absolutely amazing as far as a company goes. The way they treat their employees, the way they run everything, just it's very professional, very well done. It's obvious they care for their people and they care for the patients that they service, and it's very evident. So the reason I mention them, this week we have the flies are coming. I swear I showered last week. Man, it shouldn't be that bad. Anyway, my grandson Nicholas, who lives here with me currently, he is the young man that I have mentioned before briefly, who was born with CDH. Now, this little guy, he's 5 years old now, but when he was, well, when his mommy was cooking him up, they said, oh, there's some problems here, and they started to let her know that he was going to have this thing called CDH, which basically it's a herniated diaphragm, and all of his guts were up in his chest cavity when he was born, and so one of his lungs was completely squished, heart was moved over, all that kind of stuff. And shortly after he was born, they had to cut him open, pull everything back where it belonged, and sew him back up. They said that he, initially, they said, this kid has got about a 15% chance of living to, I can't remember what it was, age 5 or whatever, that his quality of life is going to be horrible if he does survive. And the doctors had actually talked to my daughter about, at the 20-week mark, they said, hey, this would probably be a good time if you want to get out of this pregnancy. This would be a good time to abort him because it's not looking good for him. And my daughter, nope, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to give this boy a chance, and we'll see what modern medicine can do. So there was 2 places in the U.S. that could treat him and do pretty well. One was the University of Utah, and one was down in Florida. And she had a choice to make, whether to move down there and try and get the help and whatnot, or stay here. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat. I don't know how he got in there. There's no frogs around here anywhere, but anyway, maybe they're all here, along with the screws that are loose up here. Anyway, so my grandson was born, and he was in the hospital for a little over 300 days after he was born. Developmentally, he was way behind because of all of that. But here at age 5, here he is going to kindergarten this week and doing well and thriving. So the reason he was at Edwards, he was granted a Make-A-Wish Foundation wish, and Edwards was one of the major sponsors for this Make-A-Wish. And so they had him over, big luncheon, a big proclamation where they announced that he'd be able to have his wish granted. And they included all the employees. There was a point where, as we're walking from the area where we'd gathered and had lunch to the area where they were going to do the proclamation, over 1,000 employees, almost all their employees, lined up in the hallways en route. And we walked through this corridor of people cheering for him, high-fiving him. It was very, very moving. But the fact that this company, instead of just having the kid over, giving him all this stuff, they chose to include their employees in this moment. They chose to show the employees what it was like, what difference they make in the world. And apparently, a lot of the heart patients that they deal with, upon recovery, they bring them over to Edwards as well. This isn't a new thing for them, and kind of take them on the tour and let them meet the people who actually built the components and engineered the components that are keeping them alive. What a cool thing to do for your employees. So again, that shout out to Edwards Life Sciences. They are just an amazing, amazing company. So that was one of the big major things that we did this week. The other major thing that happened for me this week is I got accepted. I had put in a proposal to the Virginia School Plant Managers Association. That's the place I've gone the last few years, and done a presentation. Last year it was in Richmond. This year it'll be in Blacksburg, which is where Virginia Tech is. And I've been there before, so I'm very familiar with it. I love this organization. And I put in a proposal on one of the subjects they were interested in hearing about, and the proposal was accepted. So around Columbus Day, I'm going to be headed back to Virginia to speak, but also maybe do some sightseeing. We'll see. In the doghouse this week, I spent a considerable amount of time going through stuff. You'll notice my next video that I do that the background isn't quite as cluttered, because there was a lot of things that I've been needing to get sold or rid of one way or the other. I had some tough decisions to make on some really cool stuff I had that just I'm never going to use, I'm never going to finish, I'm never going to fill in the blank, and really they just need to go to somebody else who can enjoy them. So I spent a bit of time getting a lot of that stuff organized, put together, put aside, pictures, getting it online to try and get it sold. So between that and the little bit of work I did on the general patent, and a little bit of work that I did on my my Warhammer figures, it was a busy week, and I just didn't get as much modeling done as I wanted to. So, well, folks, we will see you tomorrow for the next installment on that patent, general patent, and then Thursday we will review one of these kits from the stack, from the new stack. I'm not sure what we're going to show you yet, but it ought to be interesting no matter what it is. So you guys take care, and we'll see you soon.